Should one nap before having the Seder or not? Where would that actually come from? This idea of napping. Well, if you take a look actually at the Meom Loez in his introduction to the Seder, so the talks about this actually, and he says that someone who tries to do all of the preparations on Erev Pesach on that day, on the actual eve, and he leaves a tremendous amount of preparations for that time, he's not going to be able to observe the Seder properly. And we see this by many, many people. They try to do everything and a tremendous amount before Pesach, and then comes time to the Seder, they're so tired and sleepy, they're just rushing through the Haggadah so that they could get to sleep. Or they'll have the Seder and then they'll just fall asleep. And that's obviously going to be a major issue. And the reason that this is a problem is because they waited for the last minute to make all of the preparations. They were rushing all day, they're tired to observe the Seder properly at night. Now, their intentions are good. They're involved with preparations for the Seder. But at the end of the day, it's an issue. They want the house to be clean. They put a lot of effort into cleaning the house, but it's still an issue, right? Some people will clean the house, shine the furniture, do everything in honor of Pesach, so to say. We're not even talking about over here the spring cleaning. There's a difference between checking for chametz and then just doing a spring cleaning. That's not Pesach. That's spring cleaning you're trying to do. But anyways, they don't realize that this is an error, right? Obviously, one should not work so much the day before Pesach and then lose out an entire Seder. Such people, they're tired. They're not going to be able to say the Haggadah properly, talk about it properly, really be involved with it properly. So therefore, their work is really in vain that they were doing because they're going after the tofel instead of the ikr. They're going after the side dish instead of the main course, so to say. And a lot of times, people when they fall asleep, they could forget to bench also. Right? Afikomin. These are obligations. We have another 2 cups to drink after the meal that we have at the Seder, after the Suda. There's another 2 cups that you have to drink. So what's going on with all that? Are they going to be able to do it? Are they going to observe the Seder properly? Therefore, someone who is truly religious, he's authentic, he wants to practice true Torah, he has to make sure that the preparations that they're done in a calm way when there's adequate time, and he should leave as little as possible for Erev Pesach. Most of the work should already been done. All that should remain is just the cooking of the food. That's it. Right? And therefore, leave time to rest if you think you're not going to be able to make it through the Seder properly. That's what it comes down to. Leave time to rest. Right? Then you're going to refresh yourself. You're going to have a full battery, so to say, and you're going to have enough energy to say the Haggadah and be fully aware of all the great miracles that Hashem did for us. And then you could praise Hashem for all this. Now, this Meom Loez stems coincides very nicely with the Gemara Pesachim on Kuf Tes Amud Aleph. The Gemara says that Rabbi Akiva, he would distribute kilayos ve'agozim, nuts, wheat kernels to the children on Pesach night in order that they wouldn't sleep and that they would ask questions pertaining to the Seder. The Gemara over there, interestingly enough, says Rabbi Eliezer says that you should grab the mitzvahs on Pesach night so that the children won't sleep. Now, then the Gemara continues. By the way, this is a whole discussion of itself, what that means. It's for another discussion. They said about Rabbi Akiva that he never said it's time to leave and stop learning Torah, leave the base medrash, except for Arvei Pesachim and Erev Yom Kippur. And what does that mean? Erev Pesach, so that the children won't sleep. Erev Yom Kippur, in order to feed the children. Now, Rashi and the Rashbam explain that Rabbi Akiva would nap his children on the eve of Pesach in order that they would remain awake for the Seder. Now, according to this explanation of Rashi and the Rashbam, this is a proof for the Meom Loez's point that what? Napping beforehand. One should be rested before the Seder in order that he will be able to remain awake during the Seder. However, if you look at Taisvus over there, Taisvus says that Rabbi Akiva he would leave the base medrash on the night of the Seder in order to keep the children engaged in the Seder with his learning. Which means according to Tosfos, Rabbi Akiva, he didn't need to leave the base medrash on the eve of Pesach to make sure his kids were falling asleep. It had nothing to do with it. No. What it means is that he would leave the base medrash on the night of Pesach to say the Haggadah. Right? Someone else could put the kids to sleep. So that's this message that's important to know, that to go into the Seder in a right state of mind. I have multiple uncles, and I know a lot of people who are accountants. Accounting season, tax season, always falls out, usually right by Pesach. So we're gonna do another shir as to why did Hashem make it this way? That the Seder is at a time when everyone's tired immediately enough to do the Seder, have it, another night, do it at the end, do it later, whatever, have it during the day maybe. I mean, we have to discuss that also, why it's specifically at night, but why did Hashem want it specifically in this whole long process and everything on the first night after you did all the checking and everything? Do the Seder at the end of Pesach or something. Figure it out. Well, why is it specifically like this in this scenario? So we're gonna discuss that coming up.